You are live.
We'll call the meeting to order and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is called for a really short purpose of approving or disapproving the payments from our Monday's meeting. We also have the addition of PCDC affidavit, which is in conjunction with some remedial work on one of the sites, and then also a resignation on the Parks Board, or Maintenance and Parks Assistant. Any other additions? Hearing none, I entertain a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion, Randy.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
All right.
3-0. The first one we've got is had to do with our payments. And since that time, just so happens the State Board of Accounts is in the building. We had a discussion with them, and the appropriations, the firearms that were purchased, even though it's a restricted fund for firearms training, should have been ran through and got an appropriation before they were purchased. Now, the State Board of Accounts field agents won't make a comment other than they may write us up or something. So what that one is Alan, and I talked to him just this morning. He went, and it's a restricted fund where he's going to be able to spend it. That's the way it is. It's not for use in other areas. But according to Indiana state law, he should have got an appropriation made prior to ordering the weapons and having them delivered. So we just admit to the State Board of Accounts that we did that, if we so choose, and then going forward, they probably will look the other direction this time, and then probably not so much the next time if we do it again. So that's the first item.
I am going to state that I am in disagreement of that, of the way I understood it. I was understood that these are non-appropriated funds, or these funds do not have to have a budget or be appropriated. But if we so wish, if the county government so chooses to put an ordinance in place to require them to request permission and request appropriations before spending, then you can so do that. But there's no ordinance in play. Unless you've had other conversations since Thursday afternoon, then that's the way I interpreted the conversation that we had on Monday. So I'm not trying to cause any problems, any frictions or anything, but these funds right here do not require a budget. As long as there's cash in there, they're at the liberty to spend it. Now, if the county government wants to put an ordinance into play that requires them to ask the permission beforehand, they can, but currently right now there's not one in play. So I just want to state that.
And for the record, I want to make this clear. Appropriations are not required. This is from the State Board of Accounts, and it's under 19 firearm training funds, not required appropriation. Then in parentheses, it says refunds only. That would be refunding back because of an overpayment. IC code 35-47-2-3. Says nothing about purchases being exempt from appropriations. So I believe state law is fairly clear on this matter. Now, what do we want to do? I mean, we have a vendor that sent the firearms in good faith. They're here. Alan states that he needs them.
Okay, Randy, let's back up just, I guess, pretend a little bit. If Alan would have came to us and asked for the money, we would have approved it, I'm guessing.
Chances are, and it would have been a council, because it's finances,
Mhm.
would be the one. But they would have approved it. It would have went into an appropriated budget. And then the money would have been there for our signature on the vouchers.
Yes, it would just, we'd
Right.
just pass it, yeah.
Right.
So by saying that, it's sort of like what you said first. We probably need to go ahead and pay them because we done got them. They need them. It's like everything else. I think we can learn from everything we do. So, and I think we got a different opinion here between Chris and what Randy came out of that meeting, but it's something we can do a little bit more research on too. So we might have to get the attorney to really dig into it because it's which one or both of you are right. So
Well, the gist of things, Randy, is the way, we are required as commissioners to sign off on these vouchers. Checks and balances in county government. We basically call the shots on a day-to-day basis. The council controls the purse and the money. When you step outside of that, and then anyone has an opportunity just to purchase whatever they want to, it basically takes the oversight provided by the council and the commissioners out of the mix. And I'm comfortable that state government has the intention of county government to provide oversight. And by this code, I'm comfortable where we are. We can call the attorney in to do whatever we want to. I think Chris's suggestion that we, irregardless, make a county ordinance or resolution or something to have these things appropriated prior to purchasing. We can't on everything. The commissary fund is the sheriff's fund that he has complete control over. Most other things, make it known that that's going to be something that we require, and we can pass an ordinance resolution or something to that fact, just to make sure that everyone's on board when these things are purchased, and so they get paid for, so we have it in the record. I just think we clean things up also.
Have to go from here forward, correct?
Yes. Just get one put together and we'll just
Yes.
do it that way.
Yes.
So,
I don't disagree with you on that. I don't think it'd be much. It wouldn't have to be a budget item, would it? It just.
no. It just has to be appropriate.
Yeah.
This fund is restricted. He gets his money in. It's for that purpose. It's not a budgeted fund. It's a variable. But he needs to go through the appropriation process. Now, it's similar to what we did with the ARP money. The committee made some suggestions. That's all they are, suggestions. The commissioners and the council both have to approve them, and then they're paid out. It's not appropriated either. It's just kind of an off-budget type thing, and that's how we handle it. And I think things of this nature, it would be better for us to do the same thing. That way, we don't come back, the State Board of Account comes back, because we have to sign the vouchers, and we'll be responsible by signing the vouchers. So, sure, Jane.
Because I just wanted to explain that the Recorder's Perpetuation Fund is definitely stated as a non-appropriated fund. So would that one change too, with what you're
No,
saying?
you remember, Jane, when you came in and you asked earlier about using some of that fund to pay for your part-time workers?
Yes,
You came in and made a request?
yes.
Okay, that's the process.
Okay.
That's
I
what
knew for
again-
employment we had to, but I didn't know for anything else.
Yes, that's what she's asking. So for other things, does she have to?
Uh,
Because if you're saying you're going to make one fund do it, you're going to need to put the ordinance in play for all funds.
yeah, if we set an ordinance to do that, then that would be the case.
Okay.
Okay? Currently, I'd have to look through the list here of things that are not required to be appropriated. And I'm going to quickly look. It says right here, the Recorder's Records Perpetuation Fund, is that what it is?
Perpetuation.
Perpetuation Fund, okay. appropriations when not required. So that's code 362710. So in your case, it's not required
Okay,
by state statute.
yes, by state statute.
Right.
Okay, thank you, just wanted to clarify.
So we're just basically following, I mean, we can't circumvent state statute.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
so on the,
But I'm confused. If you put an ordinance in play, are you just going to specify certain funds have to come for approval? Or are you going to request all funds come for approval? Because you basically just told her she doesn't have to, but
we don't have an ordinance in place, so
Currently, right.
until that happens, and at that time, whether we can override this state statute, which says it's not required to be appropriation.
Mhm.
I'm not an attorney, so I can't comment on
so
that.
as of right now, since we don't have an ordinance, none of these funds have
Right.
to require that.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what I stated right before, that we need an ordinance to state that.
And we need to make sure that, I'm not sure we can write one to do that. It would be similar to taking away the commissary fund from the sheriff and his discretion, because I know the legislature attempted to do that, I believe, this year, and they didn't get the votes. So I don't know that we can actually do that, but it'll be something an attorney would have to weigh in on. So on that one, on the guns, where's everybody at on paying that? Are we going to pay it? I think Alan's informed now that he needs to get appropriations prior to doing that.
I'm in favor of paying them.
Okay? Is that a motion?
Yeah, it's a motion.
I'll second it with I'll second the approval of waiting upon,
I can't wait. It's on a credit card.
no, I mean, pay it and go from here on out.
He needs to get approval.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the purchase of the firearms, and going forward, the sheriff recognizes the need to get an appropriation first. So all those in favor?
Aye.
3-0, so that one's forward. The other item that we had, one of the other items was, he had actually, and I spoke with him about this morning again, he had service items at the jail that he had hired contractors to come in and repair. I'm sure they were all valid. He had the needs over there, but he was budgeted $30,000 out of the lit fund and had spent up to $36,600 or something in that neighborhood. So he's passed his appropriation again. He should have went to the council, got an appropriation. I think that potentially would have been done had the council not changed their format to their meeting on the 28th, and it may have been approved and it may have been fine had that followed through. But it didn't prior to asking the commissioners to sign the voucher. And since that time, they have approved the additional money, correct, Chris? For
Correct.
that. So now there's an appropriation to pay those bills. So we can go ahead and pay those, but I did have a discussion with Alan, so he watches his budget so that when he starts to see he's running out of money, especially on maintenance items, so that he asks for an appropriation in advance so that there's funding there to cover these charges.
Okay. On that, Randy, how would that work if, say if he was getting close to that budget? Say if it's 30,000, he's around 28. Thinks he's got enough in there, but something major breaks, it's emergency fix. Would it have to call a special meeting, or would he have the rights to fix it, then come and explain it?
There are certain exemptions for emergencies. Now, I can't quote those because the state allows that. And there's certain, I think, time frames as far as what you have to do and have a meeting and you have to approve it. But I know there are emergency procedures, but I don't have them off the top of my head.
I don't see hardly any other department in the situation where it's detention or.
His problem is he's housing individuals.
Yes.
Okay, so he takes on the responsibility to protect. You know, they don't have the option to leave.
Yeah.
So he has to perform a lot of these things. He has to do. It's not one of these things. But when he sees that happening at 25,000, and he can look back that he's went through, let's say, 8 months, and he's used up X number of dollars, and it looks like he's going to be short going in. Just be a little proactive. Go down and ask the council for an extra 5 or 10 or something to put that in there so that he doesn't put us in these kind of conditions.
And
That's what he in essence is doing, is spending it without having an appropriation.
And I think it depends too on the amount. And you can't say how much something is going to cost. You know, it's broke, fix it, how much?
Yeah.
You know, it could be $20,000, it could be $30,000, and they're sitting there with 5,000. Something like that needs to go through the.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Another example we had several years ago, we had an ambulance with the engine just went out, and we was scrambling because we had a couple other ones down. So that was one of those situations we had to go to commissioners and council really quick to get
Mhm.
An
engine
emergency.
order to get it back in service. So
Yeah.
emergency vehicles, detention it's a different animal than.
It's in the same category. You don't want to wait a month, 2
Yeah.
months,
Mhm.
whatever. It needs to move. And I know those are situations that, I mean, it's just a matter of watching the budgets.
Yeah.
And then emergencies do happen.
Yes, they
And-
do.
and that's what we have to do.
It's
So
live.
that was the second item. I think after the council's resolved that, put additional money in there, I don't have a problem now signing those vouchers because they're not over the appropriation anymore.
Okay.
If everybody's okay with that, we'll entertain a motion for that one.
Are you going to do each of those individual, or are you just going to do all the ones that are affected by the late additional appropriations?
That's fine with me. I mean, it's basically the jail.
Yep, and then I have had some conversation with department heads, as I see, you know, just communication and talking with them. It does make sense that, you know, just explaining the fact that get the additional appropriation approved prior to spending the money, because that's just the way the flow should go.
Checks and balance
Yeah.
for government.
Yeah.
I mean, government's different.
And it makes sense, yep.
So Randy, I'll make a motion to approve the work at the detention center.
We have a motion
I'll second.
and
Are
a
you going to
second.
get a hold of Andrew about an ordinance?
Yeah, we can talk
Okay.
about how that needs to be
How it
approached.
needs to be handled.
So I'll kind of summarize what we discussed and
Mhm.
see what he says. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
3-0. Last item I had on here was, it had to do with the gasoline and diesel purchases through the EMA and the process. And I think you all received a letter from Steve Hauser. And he said that I have verified all signatures on the fuel receipts that are waiting payment. To prevent future issues, I have added requirements for our members when they purchase fuel for the rescue vehicles. They are now required to not only sign their name, but list the EMA ID number and the vehicle number on the fuel receipts. So hopefully going forward, Steve is assured that everything was proper. And going forward, if they get the numbers in that on it, there won't be a question. So,
Should have been that way all along.
well, we're learning.
Yep.
So, any discussions on that item?
No, I'm actually good with that also. So I'll make a motion to approve to pay.
All right.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve to pay those outstanding bills to CNS for fuel and diesel. The only other last item is, and that is to do with the meals when you go on a trip. We need to address that issue, whether we're going to accept grocery receipts versus having, currently our policy is it needs to be a receipt from a restaurant or something to that nature for a meal. A little restrictive. If they're offering meals, that has to be deducted. And we have, the current one is $35. As of 24, it will jump up to $50 a day. So what we have is one that was in the $40 range for the first 3 days, and the second one was in the $80 range for the last 3 days. And it consisted of, well, we're not allowed to buy snacks, and I don't know where these things fall in, but.
Does it say, did you bring that with you? Does it say, what does it read? I don't have it with
If
me.
I brought it with me, let's see, I did not bring it with me, but I
Have it.
handed it, I think, to maybe to Warren, but I had it. What
Yeah.
do you want to know about it? I think.
Well, I didn't know, I thought it,
It said between meal snacks are not allowed. It said a 15% gratuity could be added to it, and
Right.
it had to be no liquor, food only, and it had to be receipts
you had to.
that actually occurred during the event and presented after they returned from the event. That's how
So
it's
that's what
written.
I was questioning, because it says receipts during the event. So if they went to the grocery store during the time they were up there and purchased microwavable meals and stuff to eat in their room instead of going out to eat, would that be okay? That's what I'm just sitting here saying.
That's what our question would be. I mean, is that going to be acceptable? If so, we need to add that to our
But that's what I'm
policy.
saying. If it says receipts need to be presented for
After the event,
purchase during the
Right.
time you were there.
Right.
Need to be submitted. So if they went to the grocery store during the time they were there and purchased those meals instead of going to a restaurant, technically they're presenting receipts that they used during that time,
And I think
Yes.
these receipts were done before they left.
right,
before they left.
yeah,
Okay.
these both
Got
were
it.
done before that.
Okay, makes sense.
And the question becomes, is that going to be an acceptable meal
Gotcha.
in the eyes of the handbook? You know, if one would say, I'll just buy a, you know, and that's the thing. If you go to some other type of vendor that, for instance, Walmart has some, I think, at times like certain meals you can pick up there.
Mhm.
So if someone chooses to do that, it'll say it on the ticket though, that it has the actual meal rather than this appeared. It had a whole list of items, more of a grocery list than it was a specific meal. So, and I don't doubt that he didn't eat them for his meal because he turned nothing else in.
Yeah.
It's just going forward how we're going to receive these type of things. And as Warren stated, he said he bought it here locally, which he thinks is more affordable, and it probably is closer than Indianapolis trying to find a Walmart to buy it there and go get it. So I think the intentions were valid, what he attempted to do, but it's really not in, it doesn't follow what our handbook says. So,
Is this something you want me to reach out to Wagner, Irwin, Shilly about? Because I think it's just the wording within that.
well, whether we
that-
want to include some type of a category in there that allows that, I mean, I don't really have a problem. I just think we need to, if we're going to accept it, then we need to include it in the handbook so that it doesn't bring up a question.
There's nothing in the handbook right now, correct?
It just says the receipts. It just says that. That's what I was saying.
Meals, gratuity during the event.
To be honest, if he would have purchased those during his event, I don't feel there would have been a whole lot of question because it says to present receipts for meals during your time. So he basically went and bought his breakfast, lunch, and dinner items before he went up there to eat in his hotel room instead of going, because there were no meals provided at all during this training. You were all on your own. So I think it's just wording within the,
See, and then our
handbook.
question becomes, not only is this is a coroner event, but if we accept this, then we're going to accept it for everyone else that goes on these.
That's where I think it needs to be updated in the policy.
Yes.
Because if we are going to do it, then anyone else that chooses to follow the same pattern, then that's okay.
Yeah, as long as they say.
You want to have Chris
look into that.
Check with the,
I'll get some wording from
Legal,
Wagner Owen and
Yeah, I
Shirley.
think so.
as to
Then,
what we
Um,
might want to insert in there in this situation.
I
You
think
can
we
explain
should
to
give
them.
that opening to our employees, because some people would rather, just like this, sit in their hotel room and, I mean, what would have been the difference if you would have, went and bought food and brought it there or whatever,
I'll call
and
room service or
yeah.
whatever, yeah.
call
Sure.
room service or whatever.
It's the same
So just give
concept.
them a little,
Find out how that
Actually,
could be done, and
Most
if
hotels have room service.
Yeah, and you're on the policy handbook, right?
mm-mm.
No,
me,
you, okay.
Yeah. because we went through this whole thing.
Yeah, so, I think it probably needs to go through the committee first, then come to the commissioner.
What we have to do is,
Once you make any
if she gets the wording, then we'll have to get a
personnel policy
Yeah.
handbook meeting, and then
Sit
it'll go to
together
the
and go-
commissioners.
briefly, it shouldn't take 10, 15 minutes or
Right.
whatever of a discussion, and then just change it.
Yeah.
The other one,
Which we were gonna need to have a personnel policy meeting anyway for job descriptions, so.
right,
Okay.
so, and that thing is, I think, right at the beginning of the year is when we're shooting towards changing it, so it'd be a 24 thing. So, as long as we're okay with that, then, as is, we'll sign the voucher and we'll readdress the policy handbook to reflect, the ability to buy meals and eat them in your, hotel room. So with that said, I guess we need a motion to approve. You got a number, Chris, 300 and some thousand? I don't,
Well, we need to
330,000.
discuss the USDA. I have information on the forestry.
Okay, that's true. Thank you. I forgot that.
So I did do some checking into the forestry. Currently, right now, they receive a 1099 at the end of the year for what they were paid out on their forestry. To be honest, I'll explain the pros and cons for both sides of that. And I actually spoke with the previous auditor as to why they've been doing it that way. And the reason they've been doing that way is because this is not a matching grant. So therefore, if the employer takes Social Security and taxes out of it, then that will come out of the general fund, which will in sense be an expense to the county. So that would be the employer's portion. And then if they take Social Security and taxes out of it, that would lower the hourly rate. Well, that would be less, not necessarily lower the hour rate, but that would be less for the deputies that are doing it. So that's the way they have always done it in the past. The reason they set it up that way in the past, and this is the first payout for here for us. So is because of it would be more of an expense to the county, because the taxes and all that would have to come out of general. So they receive, and for the deputies, they are still paying taxes on that. They're just paying tax. They're getting a 1099 and paying it at the end of the year.
So
there's the information.
they're getting a 1099 from the federal
No.
forestry?
No, from us.
From
From
us.
us,
would be from
okay,
Perry
okay,
County.
okay.
From us, because
Okay,
at the end of the
I understand
year,
that now.
because it's separate. Yep. Kind of similar to exactly what we used to do with our cleaning at the prosecutor's office. She used to receive a 1099. Now that's a little different because she's actually doing work for the county. So adding it into her pay here and paying the taxes and being covered under workman's comp and all that stuff, which Randy brought up. So, I mean, that's just the information I have to bring. I understand that you probably with workman's comp and all that other stuff have other questions, but that's just the reason it was set up that way before. I do have a meeting scheduled on next week. I think it's next Friday with the U.S. Forestry Service. So we can look at different options as far as moving forward, but I would like to say that, this is money that hours that these deputies have already worked. This is, they didn't know anything different that, so they're kind of waiting on wages to be paid from that. So if, you guys are okay with continuing paying what's already been done and then letting me get with the Forestry Service on any other questions or concerns you have. But as far as pay, we're fine.
I would say pay him, but Randy, did you happen to ask the State Board of Council when you met with them on that issue there?
No, I know it's illegal.
You know it's illegal.
I will go to the Supreme Court and say we can't do it. I know that it is. You can't take a county employee that you have hired, okay, and then pay them off the books with a 1099. First thing they do, if you've ever went through a workman's compensation audit, they will ask you for all your 1099s. The reason is because people attempt to do this. What they do is they try to take wages off the books by a 1099. And anytime you have that employee that's in your car, under your control, you're completely managing them, and then you're paying them a wage as a 1099, it's not legal. I mean, it's clearly it's not legal.
Even though it's just a reimbursement from what the forestry.
If the Forest Service chose to pay those individuals directly for their time, what they would have to do is contract with the individuals and the county for the use of the equipment, fuel, tires, and everything associated with the vehicle. They could do that, and it wouldn't be our responsibility on the 1099. That would be a Forest Service issue.
Then on that, it would be on their end.
And then the second thing is, under the Fair Labor Standards Act, when they work a full shift, whether it's a 40-hour employee or in the case of the sheriff's deputies, I believe it's 171 in 28 days, when you work full-time, any additional hours above that has to be compensated at time and a half. So by paying a 1099 through here, you're circumventing that part of the law too. And that's what the hospital had an issue with earlier this year. So it needs to run through. It's no different. Let's say if we had a sheriff's deputy that was patrolling additional hours in the Forest Service and was involved in some type of an incident, accident or something, the expectation would be for the county insurance to cover them.
The liability is what worries me.
Liability, workman's comp, whatever, if they're laid up, the expectation would be for them to be covered.
Or if someone gets injured.
Whenever you're taking it off and
Anything
writing
like
a
that, it really worries
1099, you turn them into an independent contractor.
Because
So
in
they
this
wouldn't
day
be
and time,
eligible.
anybody can sue you for anything.
Oh, yeah.
Looking at them the wrong way.
Yeah.
I mean, that's our society these days. And
I go back to a little bit what Alan said the other night. I don't really want to see us get rid of the program. I want to see us try to fix it.
Yeah.
Because I think that, we invite people to come into this community, camping and stuff at our recreation. And if they see a deputy there, that's going to make them more secure to bring the kids in. It's just a safer place.
Yeah, I think the program's fine. We just need to be paying it through as a wage is what we need to be doing. And in essence, whether they realize it or not, if they actually take this 1099 and pay their taxes, they have to pay Social Security on both sides.
Yes.
That means they're paying 15.35%. If we're running it through our system, we're going to pay half of that already.
That's what I was saying.
They
It's
still
negative for
pay
them.
all these. They think they get a bigger check, but in reality, once
paying
the
more.
tax season comes due, they pony up the money for taxes,
Right.
for federal,
everything.
for all these
they're
other
not really
things.
making any.
And it actually costs them more money in the end.
Can that be done, Chris?
The whole thing of it is that I completely agree with the whole wage thing. Exactly right. Because that's the negative. But it's going to be at a loss for the county because we would have to be paying that 7.65%. It would be a loss for us because, right now they're paying both parts on their 1099. It's going to be an expense to the county if we add it into the wages because we would be paying the Social Security into out that portion. So that's why I've scheduled a meeting with the USDA Forestry Service for next week to talk about this. Hey, how are we going to do this? Are we going to go ahead and, you guys pay them fully and the check comes from you? but then we run into the issue, they're using the vehicles and all that. So basically what we need to do is add on the Social Security and taxes onto the reimbursement from the forestry. Does that make sense?
Right, that's our cost.
Yep.
I mean, I would.
To where we're not at a loss, where the county's not at a loss.
There should be some kind of consideration for the use of the vehicles too. I mean, because it does cost fuel and tires and that, whatever that rate is. But that needs to be a discussion with them. I don't want to cause the problem with that. But when we talk about our 7.65% added to their wages, we're looking at a little over $2,000. It couldn't be $200, to just run it through the county's payroll system, and then we're legal.
Basically, when we submit that reimbursement, like, so right now, all they're doing is submitting number of hours times 35 to the forestry. The auditor's office is the ones that needs to send that request after the payroll, once we get a contract in play that says, hey, so then if we send the request for reimbursement, it's going to include the Social Security and taxes and all that. It's kind of like right now with the grants. We pay the wages that are paid out of grants. The Social Security and taxes come out of that grant, not out of general.
So did you ever find a contract with the Forest
Nope.
Service?
Nope.
Okay. That's one of the things the State Board of Account people ask to go, somebody needs to read the contract and.
Yeah.
And we haven't found one yet, so. I don't know
I
where it
asked
is.
for one. I don't know if I don't know if, I haven't received it via email. I don't know if they may be interpreted, bring it when we meet next week. I don't know. So I'm just kind of waiting, but I would like to go ahead. I don't want our deputies, I would recommend, or I don't know what to say, the proper word. I would like to see our deputies who have already worked these hours be paid, because and it be noted that we realize there's some cleanup that we have to do and some acknowledgement of this, but I still don't feel it's fair that they're being held out.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. I think this is another one that we've discussed it. We go ahead and pay and we fix it from here on out.
But is it your intention to run it through the payroll system, or are you gonna write them a $300 check for 10 hours?
Continue to do it right now, how we've been doing it, and then revise it, because I can't,
I'm opposed to that. It needs to go through the payroll system so we properly do it. We knowingly are breaking the law, and we can run the $300 as though it's a payroll item and pay them. It's beneficial to them in the long run, and it's the proper thing to do, and we haven't wrote them a check yet.
so do you want, and let me ask you this then, do you want me to run it through payroll and charge the taxes to the general?
We'll have to, or
Okay.
charge it to the commissioner somewhere.
Well, this is the only time this year, this has been a
This is the first pay.
first time, okay? So
I
there's
think
not gonna be
I
a
think
1099 this year.
There was-
If we do it like Randy just said, there won't, any other cases, there won't be a 1099 prior to anything else.
If I actually looked at it, this is for August. These
So there has
charges,
been,
and in September, they already were paid. It got kind of, I don't know what went on there, because I thought I looked at it and I thought the September had already went through, and this is for August.
So there will be a 1099.
Kimberly's here, might find that.
paid them already this year.
Yes, I think so too.
Okay.
Because that was when Richard, when the account was negative.
Correct, you're right.
And we had to wait for money from the state, and we did receive that, but yeah, they have already been paid.
So right now, we're even. There's no.
No, they have already issued checks.
They will
without
receive a
taking any-
1099
Yeah.
for up till then.
So that's why I say maybe
We've done, how many payouts, Kimberly?
I want to say one for sure, but
Okay, so
I'm
this was
thinking
the
there was
second.
only one.
I didn't realize we had paid out, I didn't realize we had paid out the one that we were short money, so we did pay that, out,
I've
so.
worked on this for 6 months.
Get out.
Excuse me, I'm running in 45 minutes, and it takes me an hour to get there.
See you, Becky.
Safe
Drive
travels.
safe. So what we have is we have some already issued, as lump sum without any deductions. But I really believe we need to go forward and take the taxes out as we are required to do, at least, acknowledge them now that we're aware of it.
do you want me to, okay, so here's a couple of questions. A, do you want me to take the taxes out of general? Do you want me to take it out, or take it out of the fund and request reimbursement from them, but then there's no guarantee that I'll get it, but then we can always make a transfer
Well,
from,
does the commissioners have a general fund balance where we have the ability to do that?
we can you'd have to do an additional appropriation
So
because
we
there's
don't
no
have
social
any other,
security.
we don't have any other sources. It won't be a huge amount of money. It'll be under $200.
Yeah, there's cash balances. We just have to do, it's all, the commissioners is in the general, so, I mean,
But as long as we have an appropriated balance, because the council would have appropriated funds for the commissioners. If we have a balance in the general fund that's not, available, then we'll just pay it out of there.
what are you talking about as far as balance? What fund, what account for the commissioners?
Out of a general fund, I'd have to look at the budget to know exactly
There's-
where our balances are.
It's kind of like you've
It
got
has been
the,
appropriated, what?
you've got appropriation for the administrator that you haven't used, so you could pay it out of
Well,
there.
we're gonna be using that on time and attendance.
18,000,
Um,
and you've only used the, what was it, the 3,191 because Lau didn't bill us for the 4,000 for 2023. We didn't have to pay that. So as
And
of
that's
right
in
now,
what account?
that's in the administrator's
That's in the
salary.
administrator's salary also?
So you had 33 budgeted for the administrator, and you've only spent 3,000 of it, and
So
then
we-
you're going to spend 18, so we can pay the social
You could
security
pay,
and all
yeah,
that.
the $200, it's gonna be less than $200 to pay the social security and
Okay.
whatever else is associated that the county should be paying
Okay.
for. I mean, out of that.
All I want to do is get them paid.
That's all
Yeah.
I'm at. Yeah, I'm
Yeah, I
good.
know.
However you
They-
tell me to do it.
In good faith, they've worked.
Yeah.
And they do their pay as any other employee is. So
Exactly.
that's
When
what
they-
we want to do. What we don't want to do is create an issue here where the county and or even the employee is not properly handling this. And I know how insurance companies are. We don't want to go there. They look for opportunities and we don't want to provide one in the event we have a need. It's just, they're really your friend when they collect the premium and then other times not so much. So I'm cautious with that. So you okay with running it through the payroll system? We'll take the additional expenses out of the administrator's
Yes,
budget.
and I'll make that motion, Randy.
We have a motion. I guess I'll second it. Now Becky's gone. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 2-0. And Chris, you're gonna meet with them and you're going to bring up some of these issues as far as compensating for
Yep.
vehicles.
Basically,
all
one-
these
yeah.
things, plus the social security burden and those things with them.
Yep.
And hopefully get some type of a contract so we have
Yes.
something to look at. Okay.
Chris, we hadn't made a motion on this total 330,000 yet, have we?
No, because I waited, I knew that the USDA was
Yeah.
another one he had questions. Other than that, I think we've answered all of them.
The ones I can think of. So with that said, with the caveats of what we went through with the other ones, I'd entertain a motion to pay the $330,525.88.
I'll make that motion, Randy.
Have a motion, I'll second the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
2-0. Next item we have is the PCDC affidavit. This has to do with remedial work. Is it at the Riverview West or is it down at Troy?
Riverview.
Okay, and what they're doing is it's a contract that was entered into with this RES Kentucky, I believe is the name of them. And they monitor the property as far as, I think it's a 5-year contract is what it is. This money comes out of a bond issuance from 2021, and we have to sign this affidavit requesting payment from that bond issue. Any questions, Randy?
No, I think it's pretty routine, so,
Yep. We do it every time we take any money out of that bond.
yes, so I'll make that motion.
I'll second the motion. Any other discussions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 2-0. The last item that I have down here is that we have been provided a letter dated October 4th, notifying the Parks Board that Gary Huffins
I'll find you.
has resigned his position, and he's the assistant for the Parks Board maintenance group. And we'll accept it, I guess, and advertise the position to be filled after 6 weeks, right? What we usually do.
It's just an employment. It's not really a board appointment.
No,
So
it's
it
just a
would just
matter
be an
of,
employee, so we can advertise it, and
see who's
I don't think we
interested.
have to wait the 6 weeks, do
No. No.
we? Not on that.
Yeah. I think before,
If it'd be on the board itself, yes.
Right.
But it's an
Yeah.
employee, so he helps with the maintenance here, so that's ongoing every morning.
So Greg will do the interviews, Greg will do all that, and then whoever he
Yeah, that's
chooses,
how,
they'll
I
bring
think that's
here.
how it worked in the past.
That's how you
Yes.
did it the last time or
Yeah.
two. So I guess let's make a motion to accept his resignation so it's on the record.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
2-0. That's the end of the list we got. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Yes, I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
2-0. Thank you.
Thanks.